Alrighty, hello and welcome everybody to Enhance IT Ops Advanced Strategies for Block Storage and SAN Management. Today's exciting webinar is sponsored by NetApp and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Mackenzie Puddesy with Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this conversation today. Block storage and storage area networks, or SAN, remain key components for mission-critical workloads, offering unmatched reliability and performance. However, managing these systems when issues arise can be a challenge, as it often requires sifting through countless metrics to pinpoint root causes, and SAN specialists are dwindling. Simplifying operations is essential so that when something does go wrong, you can resolve issues quickly, reduce the risk of downtime, and ensure these vital resources remain functional. You're going to leave today's webinar with the actionable information, tips, tricks, and steps to take this challenge head on. And luckily, we have an industry expert here to guide the way. This is going to be such a cool conversation, and frankly, I cannot wait to get started. So I'm going to go through a little bit of housekeeping, and then we can get things on our way, shall we? So I want to just bring your attention to the questions section of your audience console. If you haven't checked that out already, this is the best place to get involved, get interactive, and post all of your insightful questions, comments, feedback, and ideas. We do want to hear from you, so if you haven't yet, I've seen some hellos, hi's, good mornings, good afternoons, but find that questions tab now, and why don't you shout out a quick hi, hello, hola, bonjour, happy holidays, and give a little wave and bump up the energy with the community here today. As a quick side note, that window is also the best place to reach out and let us know if you have any technical issues during the session. Knock on wood, of course, it does not happen to you. And truly, a quick browser refresh, as simple as it sounds, is typically what's going to fix all the daily tech gremlins. But if not, just shoot a message in that questions tab, and the ATM or Actual Tech Media crew and I will be here to help. And last thing I want to point out on your audience console is also the handouts tab nested inside the same window. You can check out some awesome resources, which will be a great follow-up to the conversation today. And today from NetApp, you're going to see in there an awesome slick PDF. It's the CXO Decision Brief, Enhancing Observability and Workforce Efficiency. So definitely check that out. Don't want to sleep on it. And of course, if all this cool content wasn't enough of a sweet giveaway, well, we are going to keep on giving. We also have a $250 Amazon gift card up for grabs today as a prize drawing at the end of today's webinar. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media terms and conditions. If you don't know what those are, you can check those, also linked in the handouts tab. And with that, I believe that is everything we need to cover. That said, we do have one little bit of extra fun today. We have a $50 best question gift card going out for Amazon. So this is going out to the best question, the most insightful, one that's going to spur on conversation. And the best part of these webinars is that we get to pick the brains of industry experts. We get to pose these questions. So of course, our speaker today, we are going to be having him present, but also at the end, I'm going to be posing as many questions as time allows. So keep those questions coming in through the presentation, and we'll do our best to cover them as well. Alrighty, so I'm excited to have from NetApp, Kendall Kalstead. He is the principal technologist of IT Ops and Observability at NetApp. Kendall's going to be presenting, as I mentioned. He's also got a demo lined up for us, and then I'm going to be joining for Q&A. So again, keep those questions coming in. And with that, Kendall, I'm going to pull you onto the stage and let you take things away. Are you ready?
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Mackenzie. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. So let me start off with a little bit more of my background. So it says 18 years there. I got off active duty in the Navy in 2004, and then started working at a small, as an IT analyst in a small company here in Austin, where I live. Eventually got picked up by EMC in 2007, where I did professional services for a number of years, and then did a deployment with the Navy Reserves, came back, shifted into pre-sales. I was the specialist for Central Texas, pre-sales SE for Extreme IO, which was a really cool job. Had a lot of fun with that. And then, since then I've been doing various pre-sales gigs, account as an account SE. I went to VMware a few years after that, and then got to experience that for a couple years. It was a great company, and then Broadcom gave me a nice 2-month paid vacation. It was nice of them as soon as they took over. And then I found a new home here at NetApp. So everything, all's well that ends well. But it's been a really good journey. I've enjoyed a lot of exposure to a huge, breadth of portfolios, multiple companies. I've touched just about everything EMC sold. Symmetrix, Clarion, Centera, Solera, Email Extender, EMC Control Center, just about any hardware or software platform, and then being VMware adjacent my entire career. So I had, a lot of exposure to that. So today, though, we're here to focus specifically on IT ops, and by IT ops, specifically talking about the day-to-day operations and management, right, of your infrastructure. Our focus is going to be on block storage and SAN today, and how we can enhance that capability, and how we can become a force multiplier for IT ops teams through NetApp Data Infrastructure Insights. So it's a pretty short deck, so don't worry, I'm not going to kill you with slides. But here's the agenda. We're going to talk a little bit about what DII is, or Data Infrastructure Insights, again, formerly Cloud Insights. Prior to that, it was On-Command Insights, and then prior to that, it was acquired from an Israeli company, a product called SandScreen. So it has been a NetApp product, worked on and developed in-house for quite a while, and undergone several name changes. So some of the challenges that we hear from our customers, and that I've personally seen around SAN, and block workloads, we'll kind of talk about that a little bit. And then, highlight some of the new capabilities, specifically the new capabilities of the Data Infrastructure Insights platform, and how it can enable, your storage teams and your IT ops teams. We got a brief little demo, and my colleague Josh, who's also on my team, is going to be narrating that for us. He's from Chicago, but he's lived in UK for about, I think, the last 10 or 12 years. So he has sort of a quasi, British accent and a smooth baritone. So you'll absolutely love it. And then lastly, look at some resources, and then address any kind of questions that we get. All right, so just a little bit of background. We have kind of a little hero slide, and this slide is a few years old. These numbers are considerably higher now, but this is not something that just came up out of nowhere. IT observability is a fairly crowded market, and most of our customers are NetApp customers. So, I wouldn't begrudge anybody who hasn't actually heard of DII before, but, hopefully we'll change that today. But, it's a large platform, and one of our biggest strengths specifically is we're able to scale very, very large for, our large enterprise and strategic customers. We have customers with, hundreds of petabytes, even in a case study we'll look at later, even up to an exabyte of heterogeneous storage discovered and under management. And we're able to, to scale all the way up there, which a lot of other, competitive or, comparable observability solutions are not able to do that. But what is Data Infrastructure Insights? So, at its core, like I said, a heterogeneous software as a service observability platform. There are a lot of use cases, but, at a high level, I'd say our primary ones are going to be that infrastructure observability, the troubleshooting capability, which is, powered by AI and machine learning, and then providing, actionable insights, providing recommendations, providing, specific prescriptive, guidance on how exactly to, right size, cost optimize, performance optimize your environment. So, what do we mean by observability? That's a little bit of a broad term. Any platform can suck in a bunch of data via REST APIs and just regurgitate it back at you. But especially at scale, it is very rarely useful without context. So, most platforms that you might be thinking of when you think observability, like, Pure One or Cloud IQ, are, basically doing just that for a single vendor. And then just, taking in all the data from from your hardware, software platforms, and then spitting it back in your face, telling you back what you just told them. And again, at large scale, especially, that is not particularly useful. So I don't know if any of you that are managing large environments, ever tried to go and look at a topology view of the environment, and it just looks like spaghetti. You can't pick out anything, and finding exactly what you need or what's relevant can take more time than it would have if you didn't have it in the first place. So we are going to discover and analyze all of the data and all the platforms across multi-vendor. If you have an on-prem and you have cloud as well, if you're in AWS, we can show you all of your VMware virtual machines right alongside all your EC2 instances. So to DII, a VM is a VM, a gigabyte is a gigabyte. We homogenize all of that data for you, put it in a common frame of reference, and provide a common operational picture across multiple disparate platforms. So what we see from this is, of course, a massive increase in productivity, much less time wasted on toil and manual tasks. We have a lot of built-in, right out of the box, automated reports that are available from everybody from the engineer, the keyboard guy behind the keyboard, to executives, and those are all automated. And also a number of dashboards, queries, alerts that can be set up, and more. But today we're going to specifically talk about the SAN capability, and the reason for that is that SANs. Oh, here, I'll let you read the little quote here, but this is a report that was commissioned by NetApp, written by GigaOM not too long ago, talking about some of our heterogeneous capability. And you'll see in the logo salad over there that we have ourselves, of course. We are a storage company. HPE, which is also a storage company, Pure, Dell, and many others, right? Because we are heterogeneous and we support all of these platforms. So we want customers to be able to use our platform to make your NetApp storage better, of course, but also to support everything else you have in the environment. Because if you're only using it for us, then we're just creating more silos and more complexity. So now on to the SAN stuff. So this is from one of our customers who is a director of infrastructure at a global MSP, very, very large company. And this is what he told us when we talked about SAN and asked, what are your problems with SAN? How does DI help with SAN? And the answer surprised us a little bit, right? We were expecting to hear, SAN is so complicated. We it's really hard. We don't know what to do. It's taking all this time and work. But really, what we heard is that most of these common tasks, the day-to-day type of stuff, is automated, and the SAN largely works. And so probing a little bit deeper, when does it not work? And then you get the darkening of the eyes and the sunken face, and as they're thinking back to the last time they had an outage, because it works great, until it doesn't. And a lot of those issues, even if they major issues may be few and far between, they're pretty significant when they do happen. But again, largely it is automated today. When I first started at EMC, there was really not much of a thing as automation, other than just manually written batch files and scripts. But I mean, when a customer wanted to come in and wanted to change, a few LUNs, a few of the hyper volumes or metas on their DMX array. I mean, I was in professional services at the time. I would get on a call with them, figure out what they want, pull the bin file, and then, build a bin file change, and then actually go on site to deploy it. So, extending LUNs or, creating additional volumes or adding additional hosts, that was an on-site pre-sales engagement that would be, typically a day or two. So obviously we come a long way since then, but SAN is still used for mission critical workloads. When I was at VMware, for a few years, I had 13 customers in enterprise and strategics, and every single one of my enterprise and strategic customers had their mission critical workloads on SAN storage. There was one that was using vSAN for VDI, but by and large, customers have become accustomed to it. They become very comfortable with it. SAN has a lot of features that you can't get elsewhere in ACI, not just in terms of resiliency and redundancy, but being able to scale separately, and also having a lot more options when it comes to replication and copies and things like that. I had another customer with a DMX array. I want to say it was about 7 or 8 years old, and I went on site to work on it, and I asked, okay, where's the management station? Because the DMX, it was an in-band management, so you had to have a actual server connected to the SAN, and you sent your commands through the fiber channel because it was in-band. So that guy had retired 2 years prior. So I said, okay, well, who's working on it now? And nobody knew. So they had to dig through a bunch of old documents to even figure out which servers had gatekeepers provisioned on them. And then when I finally got on there, that thing had literally not been touched in 2 years. And they were wanting me to do a whole bunch of work on it. So I'll tell you who has two thumbs and was not touching a 2-year-old SAN array that day, and it was this guy. Changes are the causes of most issues, right? I mean, when you see something break or an alert pop up, who did what is the first question that is in most people's minds. And sometimes, especially for a 24/7 shop, something that a shop that follows the sun, or a large enterprise that has overseas support, that might have done something in the evening in India on a Friday, and you come in Monday morning and and things are blowing up. We need to be able to wrap our heads around that and get a handle on it, which is very difficult to do. So yeah, SAN, mission critical, like we talked about. And some of those operational challenges, right? I mean, issues can and do occur. Not that often. I mean, most SAN environments are pretty healthy, but the consequence of that is when it works, is, there's a resistance to changing things. We have some of our customers here at NetApp that are still running 16 and even 8 gig SAN switches because it has worked and just nobody wants to touch it. Nobody wants to go through the long, painful process of a tech refresh. That can be disruptive. And they just don't have any or very few issues with it. So the flip side of that coin is, when something does happen, do you have that operational inertia? Is the team prepared? Do you have the subject matter experts, that are ready to deal with it? So, I mean, they're not dealing with it all the time. I mean, the storage might even be a collateral duty for one of your other infrastructure teams. So, what do you do, when something catastrophic happens? Are you prepared for that, or is it going to be a long, painful ordeal? But tech refresh is a risk, but it's a necessity of life. There are a lot of ways you can kind of extend it now, kind of like the oil change on your car. It used to be 3,000 miles, and now they push them out to 5, 8,000, even 10,000 miles. But eventually, you got to pay the piper. Another case in point is a DMX array. I had a customer, and it was long. It'd been off of support for a while. It was on third-party support because it had been end of life. And so they got a third party to provide their support, but they were getting dropped from that because this thing was literally chewing up, 3 to 5 disks per week, almost one every day. I mean, they were having to swap out the disks because the disks inside it have been spinning nonstop for 8 years. And those things don't last forever. So, it's a fact of life. It's something we all got to deal with, but it's painful, even today. So here's a little bit of a case study. I know I've been telling a lot of stories, but this is a good one. And this is really relevant to Data Infrastructure Insights and how we help and how we provide value to our customers. So this is a very large financial customer. And they were a NetApp customer, but not a Data Infrastructure Insights customer. And they had been having an issue. You can see 1,200 switches, almost 100,000 ports, almost an exabyte capacity. That's pretty large. And they've been having a periodic issue. It was every Friday. There was some very significant, even I'd say massive performance degradation that was impacting multiple business units. And it was a 5-alarm fire, all hands on deck every Friday to try to chase this down. So they had all the vendors on the phone. They had multiple sub 1 cases open with every vendor. The Brocade vendor said it was the SAN vendor said it was VMware said it was, everybody else. Really huge issue and not really getting anywhere for about 4 months. They were going through this. So we got a Data Infrastructure Insights POC started. And within about 2 weeks of it getting stood up, we identified an inconsistent configuration on the cross-site links for the replication. Basically, one side was it was a mismatch. One side was configured with the incorrect distance for the link, and it was causing erratic and unpredictable performance. So they didn't really think to look there because when they configured it, it was correct. And I'll get to that in a second. So we were able to find the issue. They corrected it. Problem solved. Next week, same thing happens again. But because of some of the features of DII, especially the change detection and change analysis, we're able to realize immediately that there was a bug in the code for the Brocade switches that had reverted that setting back to a default setting. So that's what had happened originally. They kind of set it and forget it, and it was working. But a firmware bug had caused it to revert and be incorrect, and that happened again. So of course, we were able to immediately identify it, and that same day get it corrected, and then get the bug fixed in the software. So 4 months down to 2 weeks. That's a pretty good value. So we got some numbers up here. I mean, streamlining IT ops, of course, is a massive savings, and increasing that productivity by reducing that non-value added heavy lifting and the toil. All that time that you spend, doing reports, creating spreadsheets, creating your presentations and reports. All that time you spent with, troubleshooting. I mean, just trying to figure out what the problem is 95% of it, and then the fix is pretty quick. So if we can bring you right to the conclusion instead of having to start, most troubleshooting trees, you're going to start somewhere, you're going to look at the symptoms, you're going to pick what the most likely thing is, and then you're going to walk down that path trying everything to fix it until nothing works, and then back all the way out and then try something else. And that's a long and tedious process. So we can massively reduce that time to resolution or time to innocence, right? If it's not a storage issue, Data Infrastructure Insights will tell you exactly what it is, and then you don't just point fingers at the network team, or the VMware team. You can say, hey, it's your problem. Here's what the problem is and how to fix it. So you're bringing problems, but also solutions to those problems, and that is of great benefit, obviously. All right, so that's a little bit about what Data Infrastructure Insights is and what we've done in the past. Now we're going to take a look at some of the new capabilities that we're bringing in. So first, I kind of alluded to this one already, with our large customer that had the periodic outage. But most of these incidents are caused by change, and I think we've all been there. Or if you've been in IT for a while, you've certainly been there. And you've had something that has been working for a while, or you might have a major code upgrade or a major refresh, and that's when everybody is sweating bullets and on the edge of their seat, holding their breath, waiting for things to blow up. But in a cross-functional team, you really need to have that. We'll call it an auditing capability, but we're not just looking at every config change here. We're looking at config changes that are related, to the object that your alert was on. So in this example here on the screenshot, we have an alert for virtual machine latency, right? And I mean, that's one of the worst things you can see, right? Because a VM latency could be about a million different things. So VM obfuscates so many different levels of the stack that it's very, very difficult to chase that kind of thing down. So you just have to start at one end and keep working your way to the other. But Data Infrastructure Insights is already doing that for you 24/7. So it's going to notice that any changes or other alerts or relate or contention or related issues on the host, on the SAN switches, on the storage system, on the backend storage LUN itself, anything in that data path that has had a config change, you'll be alerted to it as to when it happened. And so that really helps you drive directly towards the solution without just picking something and going after it. So next, anomaly detection, right? We have customers with hundreds of thousands of virtual machines and thousands of hosts. And so, trying to define, what good looks like or what is correct or what is normal for an environment of that size is, nearly impossible. So, if you want to have, a good, litmus test of, how your environment is running from a day-to-day basis and not be clobbered with all the noise from a statically configured alert, we can do anomaly detection. So, most workloads are fairly healthy, in most organizations on a day-to-day basis. But again, static thresholds just don't cut it because, what does correct look like? You might have, a backup server that you can expect, 50 milliseconds of latency on, and that's fine. You're pushing large block, IOs to your backup device. Whereas, your production SQL environment, needs to be, very high performing. So you might have a workload that spikes every Friday, when you run or every 2 weeks when finance runs a batch job for payroll, or, quarterly, when, you do a quarterly roll up for reporting, you might have batch jobs. So, we want to capture, and what we do capture is that seasonality and that periodic nature of some of your workloads, so that we know that, on the last Friday of every month, we're going to expect a huge spike in IO, a huge spike in latency and throughput. And, that is not something to be concerned about. It's something we've seen before, and we're not going to blow you up with alerts about it. Again, auto learning algorithm, and it will adapt with those trends and then use, seasonality. And these can be applied to any metric that we monitor and any device that we monitor within Data Infrastructure Insights. So, we can monitor the throughput, the utilization, CPU utilization, IO, error counts on SAN ports. You might have SAN switches, and this is a particular use case, right? You might have your SAN switches that starts getting, a lot of bus resets or loss of light, or buffer to buffer credit 0 errors. And, a few of these here and there are to be expected. But, if you see it start to grow significantly over time, then, you can diagnose a critical SAN issue, before it even starts to impact production. So next, our VM to LUN visibility. So we, this might look like a topology view. In fact, I was talking to one of our customers, DII customers, who also had Pure, and we got to be talking about Pure 1 specifically, and they were showing me, it's like, yeah, look at this, we got this topology view, and it shows us our whole infrastructure. And so my question to that is, oh, that's really neat. That's a great picture. What do you do with it? And the answer is, well, it shows us our infrastructure. So, it's right back to the whole, what are electrolytes? It's what plants crave. Brondo's got electrolytes. What are they? Well, that's what plants crave. So it's something that's neat. And, I guess it could be useful under certain circumstances, but in a large scale. And again, I used to be at VMware. I've seen some of the charts in ARIA operations with, thousands of spaghetti lines and little boxes everywhere. And, I need better glasses than what I have to see those, because it's just too confusing and it's not particularly helpful. So, the difference here is that we are going to show you what you need and only what you need to see to address the issue that you're looking at. So if you're responding to an alert on a virtual machine or an application, we'll show you all the virtual machines that are running that application. We'll show you the host that is running those virtual machines, the SAN switches, the front end storage controller, and of course the LUN on the back end of the data store. And so what this does, and you'll notice here too, some of these have red circles around them if there's an alert on that object, or a yellow circle if there's a warning on that object. So if you're chasing bottlenecks or you're trying to pinpoint issues, here's everything end to end, from application to storage. And this will allow you to, go straight to the issue without having to, kind of waffle around and have a lot of guesswork. So the next thing we're going to do is go ahead and launch into a demo. It's pretty quick, just a couple minutes, but this is specifically around our new SAN analyzer feature. And my colleague Josh, is going to be narrating this for us, and I'm just going to sit here and be quiet, and you can listen to Josh. So let me get it started here.
Responding to a critical performance issue in your environment, you need to do it quickly, without the all too familiar process of trawling through endless metrics trying to guess where the issue might be. When I have an alert about a performance anomaly on a production service like I do here, the clock is ticking. Here you can see there's been an unexpected spike in latency on the production StoreDB service. The anomaly detection monitors learn normal workload patterns and can alert me when anything unusual is occurring. To get the best view of what's going on with this workload, I'll jump to the SAN analyzer. Here, I can see all the infrastructure resources in the data path for this application, from the associated VMs all the way to the backend storage, and only those resources. In a large SAN environment, the last thing I want is hundreds of other workloads cluttering my view. This application seems to be made up of 2 VMs, and from here, I can get an overview of some key metrics for VM, hypervisor, my SAN switches, the storage, or the backend storage unit. I'll start troubleshooting the StoreDB VM in the red alerting state here. At the top, I see a summary of this VM's vital statistics, as well as the alert. Scrolling down to my expert view, straight away, I can see the spike in latency. However, the workload itself was pretty consistent before this alert, so there must be some other influence here. Fortunately, I don't need to go looking for what it might be. Here, workload contention has automatically been detected. This means that more than one workload is competing for a shared resource. If I add this to the view, I can see this backup VM was powered on just as my production latency alert occurred. This change analysis here gives me a really clear view of cause and effect. But while it's clear this backup is affecting production performance, I also know I should have all the performance I need from this NetApp SAN array. So to find out more about what's happening on the storage side of things, I'll add the storage unit to the view here. And this is interesting. It looks like there's a QoS limit set on this volume and that it's classified as Tier 3. This was okay until the backup VM started up. But now I can see that the volume performance is hitting up against that limit and causing this latency issue. It's unusual for a critical production workload to be running on a Tier 3 volume, especially since the QoS limit is causing a performance degradation. And this seems more like a configuration issue rather than an actual storage problem. So I give an update to the application team. And they respond confirming StoreDB was provisioned on the Tier 3 data store in error, and they vMotioned it to a Tier 1 data store. Coming back to my SAN analyzer, I can see this change is reflected, now with 2 separate volumes hosting the different workloads. And if I go back into the VM overview here, I can see the change was detected, latency improved, and the alerting state is gone, both workloads running in harmony.
Okay. So yeah, that is the demo, and you can see from that example that having something to point you directly at the problem and tell you exactly where to start looking, and even more so, tell you exactly what the problem is and when it occurred, and it can also provide you recommendations on fixing it as well, is incredibly valuable for IT ops. The feedback from our customers so far on the SAN Analyzer feature has been tremendous. And they've really managed to, reduce that time to recovery or, time to innocence as well. It's no surprise we're NetApp. A lot of our customers are the storage teams and the storage customers. And the storage team can be the scapegoat for, a lot of other issues. So that MTTI is really, in a lot of cases, as important as the time to resolution, right? How quickly can you show that it's not the storage? And not just that it's not the storage, but what it actually is. So it is, we are a storage company, and it is a storage-centric observability platform, but it really is, Data Infrastructure Insights really is for everybody. It is for those cross-functional teams. So, could be the storage team that also does VMware. It could be, for the broader enterprise as well. I mean, we have, customers that the storage team is the one that runs and uses DII, but the reports that it generates, the webhooks that it pulls in from other integration platforms like ServiceNow, are used by all other IT teams in the operations organization. So with that, let's go to I think we should be at the little. There you go. The little call to action. What's next slide? And I guess we can go ahead and jump into questions.
Alrighty, sounds great. Great presentation. I really enjoyed that, and we've got some questions coming in, so I'm excited to pose these to you. I'm going to leave this what's next slide up as we chat, and that way, if anyone's out there and they want to click in and get curious, you've got some ample time to do so. And with that,
I do see the first one on here, so that about the older platform, and yes, definitely. I mean, 5 years old, so there is a collector for FAS arrays, and that should support arrays that are still over 5 years old. So yeah, we have some very, very old customers with very old arrays. Like I said, I mean, sometimes people keep these things around for 5, 6, 7. I've seen 8 and even 10-year-old Symmetrics arrays before. So yes, as long as it's still at some point, I mean, there might not be support because it's not able to be upgraded to the latest ONTAP. But as long as the ONTAP version is supported, then yes, it can be used to monitor that.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay, next question here is about the Data Infrastructure Insights. So someone was asking, does DII only work with NetApp storage?
Yeah, so no, let me clarify on that. Certainly the answer is no. It works with pretty much all kinds of storage. So, and not even just SAN storage, right? We work with, obviously SAN storage, NetApp and others, Pure, EMC, IBM, Hitachi, HP, you name it, we have a collector for it, and we can collect that data and show it to you right alongside every one of your other storage arrays. But also, your NAS storage and your object storage. And, if you have some S3 storage on Amazon, EBS storage, all of it, we can keep track of, monitor, and use it for observability across all on-prem and cloud platforms.
Okay, nice. So very mutable, very flexible. I do have a couple other questions around DII. So one is asking, how is DII licensed?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. So, previously it has been licensed by what we call a managed unit, which was a little bit confusing to some customers, right? And a managed unit is a different number depending on if you're talking about a virtual machine, a Kubernetes namespace, or storage, actual capacity. So recently, in fact, it was announced at Insight that we are switching to a purely capacity based on tiers of storage. So high tier all flash platforms would be metered at one rate, and then onward, there are 5 separate tiers. The lowest, I think, is just object storage in the cloud, so that customers with massive hundreds of petabyte storage landscapes in the cloud are paying an appropriate amount, right, to manage that, not as if it was a tier 1 all flash storage. So the answer is you get everything, every feature. Nothing is gated. We want to enable customers to use all of these advanced features to dip their toes into, the virtual machine management, the Kubernetes observability capabilities, and use the workload security. All the things that we have to offer are available just for the cost of whatever storage, on a per terabyte basis.
Okay, incredible. That's great to hear. Keeping down this DII line, I've got one more question for now in this realm. This one is, what other integrations or platforms are compatible with DII? I guess you've touched on it a bit, but I'm sure we can go a little deeper on that.
Yeah, I mean, the common ones that a lot of customers are using are obviously, I mentioned ServiceNow. We have several customers, in fact, many customers using Data Infrastructure Insights as their source of truth for their CMDB. So they're sucking in all of their inventory information and maintaining their ServiceNow with that. ITSM, service management is another really big use case. We can feed in incidents, open up ServiceNow tickets, based on DII alerts. We can integrate with Splunk, and we can feed that as well. And really anything that can use APIs, we can integrate with, or webhooks. So, we can generate API keys so that, you can use any kind of third party, platform to reach into DII, get whatever you need. And DII can, send notifications via webhook as well. So it can integrate, in an outbound fashion with anything that uses webhooks.
Nice. Well, that's super helpful, super helpful. Okay, question here. This one is coming from Josh. He's asking, how does change analysis help customers troubleshoot infrastructure resources?
Right. So, DII is kind of like the Alexa in your living room, right? We know everything. We know everything about you and your environment, from an infrastructure perspective. So, it is constantly, polling, collecting that data, and and correlating that data with other things that are related. And so, anytime that that a change has been detected, right? And there's a number of ways we can detect those changes. Sometimes it's logs. Sometimes it's via the collector API calls. The DI is notified of it. But however we find out about it, we collect that information and then hold it so that any other known objects that are related to what you have an alert on or what you're looking at even. I mean, you don't even need an alert, right? You can go in and look at a LUN and then a storage LUN, for example, and then drill down through all the connected and related objects of that and see any change that has been made on any of those. There's also on the main landing page for DII, there is an actual section for for changes, and you can go into that and just look at all of the changes that have occurred across the environment. Create filters or reports based on that, and feed that into anything that you want, any way that you want to see it. So yeah, I guess I hope that answered the question.
I think so. If not, feel free to follow up out there too. Okay, what else we got in the queue? This one is asking, how does anomaly detection help customers alert on performance issues?
Yeah, so anomaly detection, and I can't go too much into the weeds. It is a trade secret, the secret sauce. But one of the things that we found, and one of the ways we found to leverage AI and machine learning, AI is obviously that's the topic du jour, right? Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's implementing it. You got Google Gemini, and I just got that iPhone update with the Apple AI, and it's kind of annoying so far, but we'll see. It'll come around. But AI is kind of lousy at drawing hands, but it's great at detecting patterns and helping college students cheat on their term papers. And for the former, that's what we're leveraging it for, and we're able to really gain a deep understanding of of exactly what is happening and what we expect to happen at any given point in time. The anomaly detection also allows you to create a tolerance, for an anomaly. So how far off, do you want to let something be before you want to, do you want to be aggressive or conservative? And also, if something is a spike, we don't want to look at that either. So there are a lot of configurable options, but the goal with it is to understand, your environment, to understand the metrics that you're monitoring. So, you can turn it on for, let's say, your IO, your throughput for a storage system. And, when the throughput or the IOPS, changes drastically over what is expected, then you set up a monitor and you get notified of that. And so, it's going to, keep watch of all that stuff. And then, and just let you know when it changes. I mean, it's just not, like I said before, it's just not possible to do that at scale in a large environment. So that's what it's for. And so far our feedback has been really good. It's taken a lot of the manual labor of configuring alerts out and then fine tweaking metrics. But also it's really gotten rid of some of the extra noise, from having a lot of alerts in a large environment.
Oof. Sounds like a dream. I'm always love automation and love minimizing notifications. So I'm here for it. Before we wrap things up, anything you want to impress upon the audience? Any kind of nuggets of wisdom? Anything you're super excited about here as we are wrapping up the webinar and wrapping up a year?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just reiterate that if you're already a NetApp customer, get a free trial. I mean, it is very, very easy to deploy. In fact, I usually get that question because some people are a little bit gun shy about observability solutions, right? Some of them are a real nightmare to get stood up, and it takes a long time before you can extract value from it. But Data Infrastructure Insights can be set up very, very quickly. All we need on your environment is a virtual machine at each site, physical location that you want to be observing, and then that's pretty much it, right? We deploy our acquisition unit on that, and then that virtual machine gets all of the collectors deployed on it. So it does all the work. It makes all the API calls, and then it encrypts, encapsulates that data, and then sends it to AWS, actually, which is where DII is hosted. And in fact, AWS uses DII as well. So if that's not a glowing endorsement, I don't know what is. The very company that's hosting our platform is also using it. But if you're a customer already, I mean, it takes no time to get one of these set up. There's a free trial for 30 days. It can be self-extended to 60. And you can really see, you don't have to take our word for it, right? Get it in there, start sucking in all of your hosts and your virtual machines and your storage, and see what it can do for you. And I think you'll be impressed.
Awesome. Well, honestly, really great presentation. Love being able to pick your brain and pose these questions to you. And I'm always appreciative of just being able to learn new knowledge. And so sharing about this and what's new has been really great. And I want to give you a final thanks for being here today.
Thanks. Thanks everybody for coming.
All righty. An absolute pleasure. And we'll see you next time. Take care.
Take care.
Alrighty. If your question did go unanswered today, everyone, do not fret. All of these questions are safe and sound with the NetApp team, so they're going to be able to follow up and make sure you get anything that you are looking for. I still have this what's next or call to action slide here up for a couple more seconds. So if you haven't clicked in and you do want to check out that GigaOM brief, well, that is also in the handouts tab. So you maybe have a few more seconds for that. But if you want to get that next generation SAN operations in data infrastructure blog link, grab that. If you want a personalized demo, click there to do that. And of course, if you want to do that free trial and really get a hands-on approach, hands-on look at what you haven't yet experienced, well, definitely check that out as well. Super cool stuff today. And again, thanks to Kendall. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thanks to you out in the audience for being so engaged and interactive. And we do have one final little bit of fun here today, which is our prize giveaway. So if you've been hanging on, you're excited, you've got bated breath thinking it might be me, and I need to do some shopping before the end of the year, well, this might be your lucky day. So our $250 Amazon gift card is going to be going out here in just a few seconds. Quick reminder, you must be present at the live webinar here today to win. And not to keep you waiting any longer, our winner of today's gift card is Joseph Donatucci from Pennsylvania. Congratulations, Joseph. And as always, we're going to be in touch about claiming your prize after today's webinar. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I just want to give one final thank you to NetApp for making this webinar possible. I especially want to give thanks to our incredible speaker, Kendall, who's given us so much to think about today. And as I mentioned before, this doesn't happen without all of you out there in the audience to listen, to share ideas, to ask questions. And I know it's not always easy at this busy time of year to stop our daily grind, think ahead, plan ahead, and strategize, which honestly, it's a great time to do it because we're about to enter 2025. So thanks for taking the mental space to do that today and think about enhancing your IT ops, looking at those advanced strategies for block storage and SAN management. And well, I cannot wait to see you all again on another webinar soon. And until that happens, I am wishing you all an absolutely magical rest of your days.